अष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Share my screen. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, entitled Creation, Chapter 7, The Son of Drona Punished, text number 47. It's hanging. मारोदिदस्य जननी गौतमी पतिदेवता यथाहं मृतवत्सार्ता रोदिमी अश्रुमुखी मुहुः मारोदिदस्य जननी गौतमी पतिदेवता यथाहं मृतवत्सार्ता रोदिमी अश्रुमुखी मुहुः मारोदिदस्य जननी गौतमी पतिदेवता यथाहं मृतवत्सार्ता रोदिमी अश्रुमुखी मुहुः
मारोदीयस्य जननी गौतमी पतिदेवता यथाहं मृतवत्सार्ता रोदिमी अश्रुमुखी मुहुः
मारुदिदस्य
जननी
गौतमी पतिदेवता यथाहं मृतवत्सार्ता रोदमी अश्रुमुखी मुहुः
मारोदिदस्य जननी गौतमी पतिदेवता यथाहं मृतवत्सार्ता रोदिमी अश्रुमुखी मुहुः
मारोदिदस्य जननी गौतमी पतिदेवता
यथाहं मृतवत्सार्ता रोदिमी अश्रुमुखी मुहुः
मारोदिदस्य जननी गौतमी पतिदेवता यथाहं मृतवत्सार्ता रोदिमी अश्रुमुखी मुहुः
मारोदिदस्य
जननी
गौतमी पतिदेवता यथाहं मृतवत्सार्ता रोदिमी अश्रुमुखी
मुहुः Online. मारोदिद्दस्य जननी गौतमी पतिदेवता यथाहमृतवत्सार्ता रोदिमी अश्रुमुखी मुहुः मारोदिद्दस्य जननी गौतमी पतिदेवता यथाहमृतवत्सार्ता रोदिमी अश्रुमुखी मुहुः. Synonyms: ma, do not. Rodit, make cry. Asya, his. Janani, mother. Gautami, the wife of Drona. Patidevata, chaste. Yatha, as has. Aham, myself. Mritavatsa, one whose child is dead. Artha, distressed. Rodimi, crying. Ashrumukhi, tears in the eyes. Muhuhu, constantly. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. My Lord, do not make the wife of Dronacharya cry like me. I am aggrieved for the death of my sons. She need not cry constantly like me. Translation with repetition. My Lord, do not make the wife of Dronacharya cry like me. I am aggrieved for the death of my sons. She need not cry constantly like me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sympathetic good lady as she was, Srimati Draupadi did not want to put the wife of Dronacharya in the same position of childlessness, both from the point of motherly feelings and from the respectable position held by the wife of Dronacharya. Thus ends the wonderful transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we have a very wonderful verse, and in this section of Srimad Bhagavatam, as we are seeing how Draupadi is willing to pardon the slaughterer of his sons, of her sons. Right? We saw in the previous verse, Tad dharmagya mahabhaga bhavadbhir gauravam kulam vrijinam narhati praptum pujyam vandyam abhikshnasaha. If you remember this verse that we spoke last time, how is Arjuna addressed here? Dharmagya and Mahabhaga. Tad dharmagya Mahabhaga. And what is not good? Brijinam arhati na praptum. So it is not good to give grief to people, to the family who's glorious. And who's the glorious family? Vandyam Pujyam Abhikshnasaha, who's constantly worshipped and glorified. Who's constantly worshipped and Vandyam and Pujyam, worshipable. Who are respectable and worshipful. So we should not grieve them. This is what we had seen in the previous verse. And today's verse, we have this very interesting verse. Marodi dasya janani Gautami pati devata yathaham mrita vatsarta rodimi ashru mukhi muhuhu. The word ma in Sanskrit means not mother, but not. Maya, that which is not. Marodid, Marodid asya janani. Do not make cry. Asya janani is his mother. This person who's lying here, do not make his mother cry. Marodid asya janani Gautami pati devata. Who's that Janani? Janani is Gautami, or the wife of Aswathama, sister of Kripacharya, also known as Gautami. Marodid asya janani Gautami pati devata. She is very chaste. Why you should not make her cry? Yataham mrita vatsarta. Like I have mrita vatsa. Mrita vatsa is my son has been killed. My son is dead. Mrita vatsa. Vatsa refers to calf, like Vatsa Vatsala, the name of the Lord. So here it is mentioned mrita vatsa. My son is dead. Yataham mrita vatsa arta, and I am distressed. Where else arta is used? Arta is distressed. So yathaham mrita vatsa arta. This is all in thrilling, in the feminine this thing. Mrita vatsa. So there is a a. I have a son who's dead. Mrita vatsa arta. I am distressed. Yataham mrita vatsa arta. Rodimi ashrumukhi muhuhu. And I am constantly crying. She need not cry like this. This is what Draupadi is telling. My lord, do not make the wife of Dronacharya cry like me. I am aggrieved for the death of my sons. She need not cry constantly like me. So the translation you can remember with these two questions. What is Draupadi's request to Arjuna? Marodid asya janani. Do not make asya janani, his mother, cry. And why? Why is she requesting like that? She is requesting like that for two reasons. That I am aggrieved for the death of my sons, Mritavatsa and Arta. And she need not cry constantly like me. Rodimi ashrumukhi muhu. So she doesn't want her to go through the same pain as Draupadi herself is going through. This is what is the verse saying. And the purport Prabhupada is explaining about Draupadi's nature, how she is sympathetic and how she does not want to put the wife of Dronacharya in the same position of childlessness, both from the motherly feelings and from the respectable position held by the wife of Dronacharya. There is a beautiful class which Prabhupada has given on this, and he talks about primarily three things. How many things? Okay. What is the first thing? First thing is, a Vaishnava is paradukha dukkhi. Okay. What does it mean? The heart of the Vaishnava is always filled with compassion for people who are suffering, who are going through this miserable material existence. When they see that other person, their heart genuinely cries out. Unless a person experiences the pain of the other person or is able to empathize with that, he will not show the right kind of emotions. Suppose the daughter-in-law comes to a new house and the mother-in-law has gone through some really bad treatment from her mother-in-law. Then she probably can do two things. Either she can pass it on. I have gone through when I was a daughter-in-law. Now my daughter-in-law has come. Let her also go through. Or she can prevent it, saying that I have gone through this. Let my daughter-in-law not go through this. The heart of a devotee is always filled with, how people are suffering in this material world. And to illustrate this point, Prabhupada quotes this verse from the prayers of, so this is the second point, this prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. Very beautiful prayer where Prahlad Maharaj is telling, Naivad Dvije Para Duratyaya Vaitaranyas Tvad Virya Gayena Mahamritamagna Chittaha Soche Tato Vimukha Chetasa Indriyartha Maya Sukhaya Bharamudvata Bimudhan. When Hiranyakashipu was slayed by Narasimhadev, Narasimhadev asked Prahlad Maharaj, ask for any benediction. Ask whatever you want. Is he here? Is he here? Where is he? And then finally Narasimhadev came from whichever pillar Prahlad Maharaj pointed and he slayed him. And then he was so happy with Prahlad, he He asked, ask for any benediction. Prahlad Maharaj says, I am not a businessman. Na vanika. I am not a businessman that, I have done devotional service. Now that you are pleased with my devotional service, you have appeared before me, and now I will ask for a benediction because I remembered you. Rather, he prays a prayer like this: Naiva dvije paraduratyaya vaitaranyas. Actually, every word in this verse is very important. Naiva dvije. People are suffering. Udvije. Udvije is, there are a lot of miseries. Naiva dvije paraduratyaya vaitaranyas. The word duratyaya is also used in Bhagavad Gita. Daivi hesha gunamai mama maya duratyaya. Duratyaya is insurmountable. Naiva dvije paraduratyaya vaitaranyas. This Vaitarani, the material ocean, duratyaya, it's insurmountable to overcome this. It's not easy. Naiva dvije paraduratyaya vaitaranyas. And people are constantly suffering. They're going through this anxieties, this miseries. Naiva dvije paraduratyaya vaitaranyas. Tvad virya gayana mahamradamagna chittaha soche tato bimukha chetasa indriyartha maya sukhaya bharamudvata bimudhan. Why they are going through this problem? Why they are suffering in this material world? Knowing that this is insurmountable to overcome. Why are they going through this? Bimukha chetasa, because they have turned their face away from the Lord. Why they have turned their face away from the Lord? Indriyartham, because they want to satisfy their senses. They think they are this body, and the definition of happiness for them is how we can satisfy our indriya. Why they are satisfying indriyartha? What is it that they are getting by satisfying this indriya? Maya sukhaya. Maya sukhaya means there is a illusory happiness. There is no real happiness in this material world. But people are thinking there is happiness, and that Maya Sukhaya Bharam, this is an illusion which is created. This illusion of Maya Sukha, which is obtained or achieved by Indriyartham, by satisfying the senses. And they are doing this because they are Vimukha Chetasa, and they are fallen into this Vaitaranya, which is Duratyaya, which is very insurmountable to overcome. But interestingly, how does a devotee develop this Paradukha Dukhi symptom? How does he develop? So basically what Prahlad Maharaj is telling is that I am really concerned about these people who are suffering in this Vaitarani, which is very insurmountable to overcome, despite the fact that they are getting fooled. Vimudha. Soche tato vimukha chetasa indriyartham maya sukhaya bharam udhvata vimudhan. They are foolish people. They are not realizing that they are suffering, but there is an illusory happiness, maya sukhaya bharam. That illusory happiness is making them turn away from the Lord, and they are suffering here. But why he is able to feel this? How he is not able to get affected by this Maya Sukhaya or this Duratyaya Vaitaranyas? The second line he says, Tvad virya gayena mahamritamagna chitta. This is a very powerful line. Tvad virya gayena mahamritamagna chitta. Because my consciousness is always absorbed in glorifying your names and activities. Despite the fact that I am in this material world, I am not worried about this. Paraduratyaya Vaitaranyas. Though this is insurmountable, I am not worried about this. But I am worried about those foolish people, that's all of us, who are Bimudhas, who are Vimukha Cheta, who are Indriyartha Maya Sukhaya Bharam, who are just hankering after this illusory happiness. I am worried about that. I am worried about them. And I don't want to go back. I don't want any benediction. I rather want all these people to go back home, back to Godhead. This is the heart of a Vaishnava. Naiva dvije paraduratyaya vaitaranyas tvad gayena mahamritamagna chittaha. Translation is, O best of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence. For wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans. Udhvata is actually elaborate plans. Making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies and countries. I am simply concerned with love for them. This is the heart of a Vaishnava, and this is what is exactly demonstrated by Draupadi here, where she is feeling, even though my sons have been killed, slaughtered by Aswathama, let him not be killed, so that what pain, what grief I am going through, let Gautami, Dronacharya's wife, not go through that. Let her not also go through the same pain and grief and cry constantly. This is what she is able to feel or experience or empathize with the pain of Dronacharya's wife. Prabhupada goes on to talk about something else in the lecture. He gives the example of a person. Anybody can guess this person? Very special prasadam you will get if you are able to get him. Subhash Chandra Bose. And one more name somebody told. What is that? Huh? Huh? Nehru. Nehru. Okay. Jagdish Chandra Bose, who is he? Subhash Bose's brother. Or related. J.C. Bose is a scientist. Yes, right. Huh? Subhash Chandra Bose. Okay. Any other guess? Aryan? Very good. What intelligent person. I thought you will come up with some other answer. But better to confirm and be with the same person than why to change the answer. This person's name is C.R. Das. Who is he? Oh, means I thought you know him as if he's my neighbor or something. His name is Chittaranjan Das. Okay, Prabhupada quotes this man, very interesting person. One uniqueness about him is he was the first mayor of Kolkata when, in 1924 to 1925. He was the mayor of Kolkata. Why Prabhupada quotes him? Pay attention to this. Now, since he was the mayor of Kolkata, he was getting a fat salary, about 50,000 rupees or something a month. But then, Gandhi's freedom movement was at its peak. So one of the things which Gandhi had told at that time was non-cooperation. What is the Hindi में क्या बोलते हैं उसको? Non-cooperation, have you heard of? क्या history पढ़ा? Yes. Non-cooperation movement. What is it called in? Huh? Not Satyagraha. Anything that the Britishers are telling, we will not cooperate with them. Right? So, like if they say that you buy the clothes that we are making, we will not wear that. We will make ourselves. We will weave clothes from the cotton and we will wear that khadi clothes. Everything what the Britishers are telling, we will peacefully, non-violently, not cooperate with them. Non-cooperation movement. So he was inspired by Gandhi's non-cooperation movement and he decided to quit his position. Asahayog. So he decided to quit this position of mayor and he became a congressman and he started taking 500 rupees salary. 50,000 to 500. Okay. But he was very charitably disposed. So when people used to come for some help, when people are distressed, artha, and they'll come and ask for help, whatever he had, he used to give. But Prabhupada says this man, even though he voluntarily agreed to take 500 rupees salary from 50,000, he could not sustain. He died. He just couldn't take it. Wow, where is that life of 50,000 I am used to, and now I'm just taking 500 rupees salary? He just couldn't sustain. He died in one day. And in contrast to that, Prabhupada talks about the 6 Goswamis. Tyaktva turnam asesha mandalapati. Tyaktva turnam asesha mandalapati. They were the ministers, rich aristocratic people. And what did they do? They give it up. Tuchhavat. Tyaktva turnam asesha mandalapati sada tuchhavat. They gave it up and they went to Vrindavan and their only possession was loincloth. Kantha ashrita kopina. They were just mendicants. But they were experiencing higher ecstasy. You cannot renounce artificially, just like for non-cooperation movement, 50,000 to 500, you can't sustain. But these people, what is that? Kallola Magna. Does anybody remember the line? They were experiencing the ecstasy of gopis. Gopi Rasa Mrata Kallola Muhu, that the line that comes. No, this Srinivasa Acharya, this Sadgoswami Ashtakam, and that Tiktva Turnam Asesha Mandalapa, they were ministers, they were very opulent, rich aristocratic people. They could just give it up to Chabat. And they were in Vrindavan They were just having, the positions as loincloth, but they were experiencing the ecstasy of, the mellows of gopis. So they were not absorbed. They were not disturbed by all these things. So if somebody really wants to remain, undisturbed in this material world, because material world is dukhalayam asaswatam. The key is if you are absorbed in Krishna consciousness, which Prabhupada points out. Now what I will do is, this is Prabhupada's lecture, a little bit, just a glimpse. I want to give you a contrast of this character which is displayed by Draupadi with two other characters from Bhagavatam. Because sometimes the glorious nature of a person's character is not appreciated much unless we see it with comparison with some other people. Right? So here we have Draupadi, who is who's trying to oppose, who's trying to go against the will of the Lord. The Lord is saying that he should be killed, but she's telling, no, don't kill him. And she's showing some compassion. Whereas there are two other ladies. Anybody knows what is common between these two pictures? They're sisters, really? I don't know. They're wives of same husband. Who's the husband? Madhav. Sage. Karda. Kashyap or Kardam? Kardam. It says Kardam only. That has to be Kardam. It's not Kardam. Any other munis you know from Kapila? No? Kashyap? बोल दिया वो लोग. वही. You're right. Actually, the answer is Kashyap Muni. Sometimes, confusing also helps so that we remember. So Kashyap is a very unique person who had actually he had more wives. All this, yakshas, Gandharvas, everything, the father of them is Kashyap, including Ditis and Aditi. Diti's son is called Daityas, or the demons. Aditi's sons are Adityas, or the demigods. Very interesting. One father has got demons and demigods as sons. Not just that, even Gandharvas, I don't know who else, Yakshas, all are Kashyapa's sons. So interestingly, we will see from the pages of Bhagavatam something very contrasting. And we will appreciate the character of Draupadi, what she is exhibiting, because it's a very exceptional thing, very something very noble that she is showing. Usually people, when something goes wrong in their life, and they see that if this person has created that problem or trouble in my life, moment he gets into any kind of difficult situation, there is a natural happiness. देखा मेरे साथ किया था ना, आ गया अभी आया ऊट पहाड़ के नीचे, right? That kind of a feeling comes. मर तू कितना कर रहा था ना कर. That kind of a feeling comes. But Draupadi is showing something which is very, very different. And to appreciate this, let us see this. How many of you know this? I don't know, but very interesting episode which happens in Bhagavatam. What I will do is I will talk about this in just 3 verses, 19, 20, 21. 8.16, 19, 20, 21. And we will learn some lessons from this. I have to give you the context, and to give you the context, some of the verses I will just put the translation. I said I will talk about 19, 20, 21, but this is the verse which sets the context to understand what is going on in this pastime. So this is in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and it explains how Bali Maharaj became very, very powerful by performing the Biswajit Yajna. He had performed a yajna by name Biswajit Yajna, and he attacked the king of heaven. And all the demigods, they were very afraid of him, and they were advised by the guru of demigods. So you have to be attentive. Who's the guru of demigods? Kadam, Kashyap, Kapil, Sukra. No? Hi, she is saying Sukracharya. No. Bhumandala. Very good, finally. Brihaspati is the guru of demigods. He advised, better you leave now. Time is not good. Don't fight with the with the demons. They are very powerful. You should leave. So they left. They were afraid of Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj, because he has performed the Viswajit Yajna. So he had become very powerful. So all the demigods left. At that time, what happened? Seeing the plight of her children, Aditi, who's the wife of Kashyapa, seeing the plight of her own children, she was very, very afflicted. And one day when Kashyapa Muni came out of his ecstasy after performing some austerities and doing some meditation, when he was coming out of that trance, he saw that Aditi was very morose. She was very, very morose, and so he inquired from her about the well-being of the ashram and asked her, why is she looking so morose? She told that she was lamenting for the absence of her sons and requested him to tell her how her sons could return and reoccupy their positions. So this is what she is asking. This is a very interesting verse. So she is asking, O best of sages, best of all those who grant auspicious benedictions, please consider our situation and bestow upon my sons the benedictions by which they can regain what they have lost. This is what she is asking. Prabhupada, the genius, he points out some of the things which are so powerful and worth paying attention. In this verse, she uses one word called mamatmajaha. She refers to the demigods as mamatmajaha, mama atmajaha, my sons. Okay, and Prabhupada points out that actually demigods are children of Kashyap and Aditi both. But instead of referring to them as our children, she is referring to them as my sons. Mamatmajaha. Anywhere in Bhagavad Gita you have heard this? Bhagavatam. Very good. What is the word? Very good. Mamaka. Okay, nice. Dhritarashtra says, Mamakaha Pandavas Chaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. My sons and the sons of Pandu, being desirous of fight, having assembled there, what did they do? Same mentality. My sons. She's not saying our sons, Mamatmajaha. Here she refers to the demigods as Mamatmajaha. Whereas if you see in the way, these are all observations you can make, where Arjuna, when he is thinking of, he uses Swajanaha, Hatva Swajanaha. Madhava, in that second chapter, one of the verses he's saying, Swajanaha, he is referring to even the army of Kauravas as Swajanaha. If they are killed, how will I be happy? But here he is using Mamakaha, Mamatmajaha, and Kashyap was very much grieved. This shows the extent to which he was engrossed in the bodily concept of life, and Kashyap Muni was surprised as to how the whole world is influenced by affection. So this is the context. Now see how Kashyapa Muni is addressing this situation. So you understood that Viswajit Yajna has been performed by Bali Maharaj. He has become victorious. The sage of the guru of the demigods, Brihaspati, has advised them that you should leave. And she is morose. Seeing her moroseness, Kashyap Muni addressed what happened, and this is what she is telling. Mamatmajaha, that my children they are going through all these problems, these difficulties, the dangers. Can you tell me, the benediction or who grants auspicious benedictions, please consider our situation and bestow upon my sons the benedictions by which they can regain what they have lost. What Kashyap Muni does is amazing. And these are the lessons that we can learn. There are maybe 3 or 4 lessons. The first one is education on removing the bodily concept of life. The problem which Aditi is facing is something similar to all of us, what we face in our lives also. When something which we have desired, we don't get it, or something which we have aspired, we don't get it, something goes wrong here and there, we feel morose, we feel sad, we feel aggrieved, we feel grief. And what is the education? What is it that is missing in a person's life which is making him morose? That is what Kashyap Muni is trying to address. Very interesting. He says, Kvo deho bhautiko anatma ko chatma prakriteh paraha kasya ke patiputradya moha eva hi karanam. Kvo deha bhautika. What is this material body made up of 5 elements? Kvo deho bhautiko. We don't realize this body is actually made up of 5 elements. This deteriorates. The skin becomes wrinkled, hair we lose it, The body, different parts, the teeth, they become decayed, they fall down, eyesight becomes poor. Finally, we have to leave this body which mixes with these 5 gross elements. Kvadeha bhautika. What is this material body made up of 5 elements? It is different from the spirit soul. Anatma kva chatma. It is different from the spirit soul. Indeed, the spirit soul is completely different from the material elements from which the body is made. Prakritehe paraha. It is completely para. It has got nothing to do with the material elements. But because of bodily attachment, kasya ke pati, pati is husband, putra adi, this is my son, this is my husband, kasya ke pati putradya, mohe vahi karanam. Because of bodily attachment, one is regarded as a husband or a son. These illusory relationships are caused by misunderstanding. Mohe vahi karanam. Because of this moha, we are thinking this is my husband. This is also good. The body is made up of 5 gross elements. The spirit soul is trapped in that, and he has come by will of providence as somebody's husband or son. But it is only that body that we are seeing, and we are thinking this is mine, this is my son, my husband, my this thing. Because of what? Mohe vahi karanam. Illusory relationships are caused by misunderstanding. Interestingly, Prabhupada writes a very powerful purport. Just hear this. Unfortunately, this spiritual education is completely absent from modern human civilization. Nobody talks about this. Nobody talks about that we are spirit soul trapped in this gross body and subtle body. This is a vehicle. This is just a means where we are residing, and this means this body that we have, if we utilize it properly, we can actually come out of the bondage. No more accepting bodies. No more entrapment by this gross and subtle bodies. But nobody talks about this. This spiritual education is completely absent from modern human civilization. No one understands his real self-interest. What is the real self-interest? Anything else? Serve Krishna, who said? Selfishness. That is our real self. What is the real selfish interest? No one understands his real self-interest when Prabhupada says, what is it that he is referring to? Nate viduhu swartha gatim hi Vishnu. We are all selfish. We want to take care of ourselves first. But we don't know that the real self-interest of our lies in serving Vishnu. Nate viduhu swartha gatim hi Vishnu. We don't know this. No one understands his real self-interest, which lies in the spirit soul, not with the material body. Actually, we take care of the body so much, completely oblivious to the needs and the requirements of the spirit soul. We don't realize that there is a spirit, the real me, the real nature of mine is the spirit soul, and I'm oblivious of its needs. Education means spiritual education. To work hard in the bodily concept of life without spiritual education is to live like an animal. People are working so hard simply for bodily comforts, without education regarding the spirit soul. Thus, they are living in a very risky civilization. For it is a fact that the spirit soul has to transmigrate from one body to another. Tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra na muhyati. Without spiritual education, people are kept in dark ignorance and do not know what will happen to them after the annihilation of the present body. This is our misdirected, unfortunate situation where we don't know when the body is going to come to an end, what will happen to me. There is no education. There is no one who's going to educate people. And people don't realize that tatha dehantara praptir. After this deha is over, we have to accept another body. Without spiritual education, people are kept in dark ignorance. This is the first instruction which he gives. As I told, we will talk about in 3 verses. First instruction is spiritual education, education on removing the bodily concept of life. The second thing that, very succinct but very powerful, what Kashyap Muni does. Then he says, lesson 2 that we should learn is, the purification can happen by engaging in devotional service, or to be very specific, chanting the holy names of the Lord. How directly these things are given in Bhagavatam, sometimes when you pay attention, you can appreciate the beauty and the depth of the process which has been given to us by Srila Prabhupada. So Kashyap Muni continues, this is the second verse he is telling, Upatisthasva purusham bhagavantam janardanam sarva bhuta guha vasam vasudevam jagadgurum. What did you hear? verse you heard, okay? If you pay attention to that verse, how many verbs are there? Verb. How many verbs are there in this? Upatisthasva purusham bhagavantam janardanam sarvabhuta guhavasam vasudevam jagadgurum. Upatistha and sarvabhuta guhavasam. Okay. 5 verbs are there. Which are? भगवत तत्व नहीं है इसमें. हाँ, पुरुषम. Verb समझते हैं ना प्रभु? Verb is the action, kriya. Okay. Not noun. Noun is what he is counting. What is noun? Okay. हाँ. Upatishta. हाँ. Vasam. Sarvabhuta guha vasam. Okay. Huh? 5 verbs. Okay. Which? So somebody else also said. Who said? You said, Aryan. Huh? Sarvabhuta guha vasam. Only vasam. Okay. You want to change. Not sarvabhuta guha. You want to change? Only vasam. अखिलेश्वर प्रभु बहुत स्माइल कर रहे हैं. बताओ क्या है, कितना वर्ब है यहाँ पे? ओनली उपतिष्ठ. सोच लो, बाद में बोलोगे कि पूछा नहीं. चेंज करने के लिए मौका दे रहे हैं. 2 बार सोच के बताओ. उपतिष्ठा है कि और भी है? उपतिष्ठा, सर्वभूता एंड वासम. माता जी के साथ चले जाओ. 4 वर्ब्स है उसमें. Hari. Let's resort to Hari. Let's get the answer from him. Yes. 2. Which one? Okay. So let's kill the suspense. Enough is enough. There's only one verb. Upatisthasva. Upatisthasva is the one verb that he's using, and that means engage in devotional service. My dear Aditi, engage in devotional service. Upatisthasva. And then engage in devotional service to whom? The rest is all the words which are the names of the Lord. Purusham, Bhagavantam, Janardanam, Sarvabhuta Guhavasam, Vasudevam, Jagadgurum. All are names of the Lord. Very powerful. Actually, what he is doing, this is the beauty of Bhagavatam. He's just advising that engage in devotional service. He could have said engage in devotional service of Krishna. But he is using different names of the Lord. And each name has significance. Beautiful purport by Prabhupada. Amazing purport. You should see this purports. My dear Aditi, engage in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the master of everything. This is Purusham. Who can subdue everyone's enemies. Janardanam. And who sits within everyone's heart. Sarva Bhuta Guha Vasam. Only that Supreme Person, Krishna, Vasudevam, can bestow all auspicious benedictions upon everyone, for he is the spiritual master of the universe, Jagadgurum. Every single word Prabhupada has explained to some extent, but he specifically talks about Jagadgurum. So if you see carefully, Kashyap Muni is simply chanting Krishna's names. And he just mentioned that Upatisthasva, but then he's just chanting the names of the Lord. And Prabhupada is saying this is the best way to purify our consciousness. A person who is in bodily concept of life because of contaminated consciousness, and the way to purify him is by chanting the holy names of the Lord. The first word which Kashyap Muni has used is Purusham. Why he has used Purusham? Because Kashyap Muni is trying to tell Aditi that currently you are thinking that the demons are enjoying, and you want your children, the demigods, to enjoy the heaven. But you have to remember that the only enjoyer in this world is Supreme Lord, Purusham, the supreme enjoyer. Where it is mentioned? Bhagavad Gita. Bhoktaram Yagyantapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Gyantvam Santim Archati. He is the only enjoyer. Neither the demons nor the demigods are the enjoyers. First, how he is addressing, very beautiful, and this is only you can understand when you hear the explanations of pure devotee. Then he is telling Bhagavatam. So Aditi's plea was that, bring back the opulence. Okay, Aditi expressed that she wanted to bring back the opulence, beauty, fame, residence of the demigods. But as we know from Parasar Muni's definition, what is that? Samagrasya. The 6 opulences, Krishna is the one who possesses simultaneously to fullness. That is why he is called Bhagavan, Bhagavantam. Then the third one that is used is Janardanam. What is Janardanam? The meaning of the word Janardanam is killer of enemies. Okay, Aditi is telling that she not only wants the opulences back, but she wants the enemies to be killed. So Kashyapa Muni uses the name Janardana, which means one who can kill the enemies. And this one is a very beautiful word, Sarva Bhuta Guha Vasam. Very beautiful word, this word. Sarva Bhuta Guha Vasam means one who lives within the core of everyone's heart. So he knows everyone's desires. He knows. Actually, Aditi was feeling ashamed to go before Krishna because apart from asking the opulences back for her children, she also wanted, why I brought this issue is, she also wanted that the wives of the demons should become widows. They should cry. But she was feeling ashamed to go before Krishna to tell about this. Look at the contrast. One side we have Draupadi, who's telling that her Aswathama should be pardoned because she should not cry. Aditi on the other side wanted the demon's wives should become widow. The husband should be killed. That is what was her desire, and that is why Kashyapa Muni is using Sarva Bhuta Guha Vasam. That the Lord is residing in our heart. He knows what is going on. What is the desire that we have? Why are we here? Krishna revealed this contamination within the heart in wanting to see the wives of the demons lamenting for the death of their husbands. So this is a very important word. So every word, then he is using Vasudevam. The next word that he is using is Vasudevam. Krishna, who is all-pervading, Prabhupada quotes Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he states that we tell that Krishna returns to his abode in the spiritual world. We forget that Krishna is Vasudev. He is all-pervading. Krishna is present here does not mean that he is not present in his abode. Vasudev also refers to the state of pure consciousness. We saw in the explanation to the last name that Aditi had so much contamination in her heart. So the best way to purify the consciousness is to engage in the service of Vasudev, because he alone can take us to the position of Vasudev or freedom from material contamination. This is what Prabhupada says about the word Vasudev. And the final word that is used is Jagat Gurum. And Prabhupada actually mentions in a purport, very interesting thing. What Kashyapa Muni is telling is something very worth paying attention. Imagine someone who comes to you. How many rounds you are chanting? 8 rounds. Now, so in Tilak Vilak sab aata hai, some Kirtan Virtan, some new person comes to you and says, Ananya Mataji, thoda bataiye Krishna consciousness ke liye. Last 6 years I've been practicing. Okay, sit down. And then you start telling what is chanting Hare Krishna, what is Kirtan, what is this thing, how much, whatever you know, you will tell. How do we tell? We tell as if I know. मैं तो जानता हूँ ना. इसलिए that's why I am sharing this knowledge. But when Aditi is coming and asking this question to Kashyap Muni, how Kashyap Muni is addressing using the word Jagat Gurum. And Prabhupada in the purport says something very interesting. Kashyapa Muni was an ideal spiritual master. He was not so foolish that he would present himself as an exalted personality. He didn't say, हाँ मैं तो हूँ, मैं तो सब जानता हूँ, तुम आए हो सही आदमी के पास, मैं बताऊंगा क्या है. He didn't say any of those. He was not so foolish that he would not present himself as an exalted personality as good as God. He was actually a bona fide guru because he advised his wife to seek shelter at the lotus feet of Vasudev. One who trains his subordinate or disciple to worship Vasudeva is the truly bona fide spiritual master. This is what we should see. Even in the current generation, you find S Guru is there, somebody. Like that, there are so many self-claimed gurus are there. They want to have that adoration, worship for themselves. But really, the word Jagat Guru is very important in this regard. Kashyapa Muni did not falsely declare himself to be Jagat Guru, although he actually was Jagat Guru, because he advocated the cause of Vasudeva. Actually, Vasudeva is Jagat Guru, as clearly stated here. Vasudevam Jagat Gurum. One who teaches the instruction of Vasudeva, Bhagavad Gita, where did it go? One who teaches the instruction of Vasudeva Bhagavad Gita is as good as Vasudevam Jagat Gurum. But when one who does not teach the instruction as it is and declares himself as Jagat Guru, he simply cheats the public. Krishna is Jagat Guru, and one who teaches the instruction of Krishna as it is on behalf of Krishna may be accepted as Jagat Guru. One who manufactures his own theories cannot be accepted, he becomes Jagat Guru falsely. We can see this, right? There are so many people who say, Mataji, kisko worship karna hai? Krishna ko nahi, mere ko. That's what they say, right? Main hi to siddhi sab pa ke aaya hu. That is what is not required. And this is what is the definition of Jagat Guru. He falsely didn't claim that he knows everything. He asked Aditi to worship Vasudeva, the Lord. And then the next one, the lesson 3. Lesson 3 is any method other than devotional service is useless. And 8.16.21, Kashyap Muni is telling, Sa vidhasyati te kaman harir dinanukampanah amogha bhagavat bhaktir netareti matir mama. Sa vidhasyati te kaman harir dinanukampanah. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is very merciful to the poor. Dina anukampanah. The Lord is extremely merciful. He will, vidhasyati te kaman, He will fulfill all your desires. For devotional service unto Him is infallible. Amogha Bhagavat Bhaktir. Amogha Bhagavat Bhaktir is translated as infallible. Anybody who engages in devotional service, his desires are bound to get fulfilled. Amogha Bhagavat Bhaktir na tareti matir mama. Any method other than devotional service is useless. That is my opinion. This is what the third verse of Kashyap Muni that he says. So in the previous verse, Kashyap Muni asked Aditi to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead if she wants to fulfill her desires. Then Aditi asked her husband, what if I worship Krishna and my desire remain unfulfilled? In response to that, Kashyap Muni says that it is not possible because devotional service unto the Lord is infallible, amogha bhagavata bhakti. Thus Kashyap Muni spoke the above 3 wonderful verses. What was the first instruction, first lesson? That Paradukha. What Kashyap Muni told in 3 instructions. Paradukha was before. हाँ कोई कौन है, कौन बॉडी वाला? ठीक है, पूरा बोलो. Mix है सब. Spiritual education is necessary if you want to come out of the grief of this material world. Second thing what he told? Purification can only happen by devotional service, by chanting the names of the Lord. And the third thing is useless. Any method other than engaging in devotional service is useless. Akama sarvakama va moksha kama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purusha param. Whether you have no desire, whether you have desire, whether you are udaradhi, akama sarvakama moksha kama udaradhi, whatever it is, engage in devotional service. This is what it is meant. To conclude, there is a bonus lesson. Devotional service purifies everyone. And how do we know that devotional service purifies everyone? We can see that everyone can serve Krishna even if he or she has very contaminated heart. Here we can see how Aditi was having so much of contamination in her heart. It is okay that she wanted the kingdom back for her sons. It is okay that she wanted the enemies to be defeated, but she wanted to see the wives of the demons lamenting for the death of their husbands. when these demons are killed in battle by the demigods. This is in complete contrast to the behavior of Draupadi. When Aswathama, the killer of her young son, was brought before Draupadi for being punished, Draupadi could not tolerate to see him bound by ropes. And this is what we saw today's verse, that, my lord, do not make the wife of Dronacharya cry like me. I am aggrieved for the death of my sons. She need not cry constantly like me. So much of contrast. Yet when he engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Lord, magic happens actually. Aditi. And as you know, the son of Aditi is also known as? No. Who is the Supreme Lord who appeared as Aditi's son? What is his called? Another name of him? Another synonym. Vamana. Huh? Okay. Anything else? Upendra. Brother of Indra. He is also Vamanadev. He appeared as the son of Aditi because Aditi performed these austerities. Very interestingly, Prabhupada writes that in spite of so much of contamination in Aditi's heart, Krishna appeared before her after she performed the Payobrata worship. That is the power of devotional service. More importantly, it is the power of devotional service performed under the directions and shelter of an exalted spiritual master. Not because we are doing devotional service, the Lord will appear. But if it is the power of devotional service performed under the directions and shelter of an exalted spiritual master. The sincerity with which we follow the instructions of the spiritual master pleases Krishna more than anything else. Here Aditi very submissively heard from Kashyapa Muni about the process of worship, and she followed his instructions very sincerely. Krishna is very much pleased with this submission to the spiritual master. This is revealed in verse 8.17.18, where the Lord says, "You have prayed to me and properly worshipped me by performing the great Payobrata ceremony for the sake of protecting your sons. Because of Kashyapa Muni's austerities, I shall agree to become your son and thus protect your other sons." Actually, if you see this whole episode, very, very powerful, very interesting. What happens is when the Lord appears, because she performed this austerity, and the Lord appears and she says that that you have performed this austerity under the instruction of Kashyapa Muni, and because of his austerity I have to appear. He also says that actually now the position of demons, they are it is they cannot be defeated because they are protected by Brahmanas. The Brahmanas are protecting the demons, and I can't go against that. But still I will fulfill your desire because you have performed this devotional service. And that is what is there in this verse. Athapi upaya mama devi chintyaha santositasya vratacharyayate mamarchanam narhati gantum manyatha shraddhanurupam phala hetukatvat. Because I have been satisfied by the activities of your vow, O goddess Aditi, I must find some means to favor you. For worship of me never goes in vain, but certainly gives the desired result according to what one deserves. See, look at the position of engaging in devotional service. That is why he says, Upatarishva. What is that verse that he Upatishthasva. Engage in devotional service. Upatishthasva. Very powerful. Worship of me never goes in vain, but certainly gives the desired result according to what one deserves. So, to conclude our time, there are three things that we should remember from this episode that I just said. Devotional service to Krishna is infallible. Amogha Bhagavata Bhakti. Devotional service to Krishna is infallible. Any method other than devotional service is useless. And worship of Krishna never goes in vain, but certainly gives the desired result according to what one deserves. Mamarchanam narhati gantum anyatha shraddhanurupam phalahetukatvat. I'll stop here and see if you have any questions or comments. Yes, Badri, very interesting in asking question. Puch.
Many times we hear so many things and all. Sometimes we lack faith. Faith does not come. We see that okay, devotional service is the highest, when it comes to material side, we just turn our face towards that. So it's how do we overcome from that?
Yeah. So how does the faith come in us? Faith is something which gets transferred from a person who has got that high faith to a person who does not have faith. That is why the process which is recommended by Rupa Goswami is Ado Shraddha Atha Sadhu Sangha. Ado Shraddha Atha Sadhu Sangha Tatha Bhajana Kriya Atha Anartha Nivriti. So that Sadhu Sangha is a very important thing. When you associate with devotees who have got unflinching faith, that faith gets transferred. If the association with the devotees is not proper, and association with materialistic people is very high, like the other day I think Amitasan Prabhu was telling in the class, in that example that he was giving, that when you are going and meeting people outside, if you are not fixed in your faith, if you are not convinced, then the other persons, like the materialistic people's desires, will rub against you. You start feeling, oh my God, maybe they are in a very nice position, comfortable position. So that is why we need to associate with the devotees who have got stronger faith than us. Like the water flows from a higher altitude to a lower altitude, like the electricity flows from high voltage to low voltage, faith also flows from high faith potential to a low faith potential. When we associate with the devotees in the right manner and discuss Harikatha, that's where the faith becomes built. That's why Krishna says in the Chaturshloki, the second verse, Macchitta madgata prana bodhayantah parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Macchitta madgata prana. Macchitta, who is always thinking of me, who has surrendered to me. Macchitta madgata prana bodhayantah parasparam. They discuss, they explain, they discuss this Krishna Katha. Bodhayantah parasparam. Kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. By that they get nourished and they nourish the other person. Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. This process is the secret to keep ourselves, because we all are seeking that rasa, the mellow. If you don't fill your heart with the rasa of discussing Krishna Katha in the association of devotees, you will fill your heart with material rasas. Material rasas are perverted rasas, which we get pleasure by seeing somebody else is in distress, somebody else is suffering, some gossiping, this thing, that gets filled. When that gets filled, bhakti goes away. Shraddha reduces. The Shraddha comes when we come in association of devotees and discuss Harikatha. Tushyanti cha ramanti. This is the second sloka of Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita. Any other question? Wife of Aditi, Kapila or Kardama? Huh? Sorry, I said wife. Okay. Any other question? No questions, we'll stop here. Any questions? No. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki